Welcome back, ladies and gents, to Stick to the Sidelines. As you can tell, we are both still coaches, have not been fired from our positions yet, so somebody in the office likes us. Today, we're going to be breaking down the East divisions, AFC and NFC, where we think they're going to rank, how we think they're going to do. Not necessarily throwing out numbers because we don't have those spreadsheets in front of us. And I mean, what do we know? We're sitting on the sidelines. But let's start with the AFC East. Joey, who do you have finishing dead last in this division?
This is really hard to go with because again, just kind of like on the last episode with the West that we talked about with the NFC side of things, is that it feels like there's so much mediocrity, kind of in a good way, but also there's a lot of looking to the future for these teams, except for one. For me though, I do have at the fourth the Jets. I do not think that Justin Fields is going to be able to help them enough. And I could see Justin Fields still having an amazing season, still having a pretty good season, but I just don't think that their defense is going to be able to help them in a lot of cases. That, having those two games against Josh Allen, their defense isn't going to be able to cut it. And, the revitalizing offense with Drake May and Travis Stevenson getting in there in the running back position for the Patriots, I just don't think that the defense is going to be able to help them. I see them going last, the Jets.
I'm actually going to. This might be a hot take. I have the Dolphins finishing dead last. I think Mike McDaniel's coaching for his job this year, for starters. I think Miami and the team are done with his little preppy guru-minded attitude that he always has, because it doesn't work. I mean, this is a team who got 70 dumped on them a couple seasons ago by the Denver Broncos. Yeah. This is a team that constantly has problems off the field. They are riddled with injuries consistently, and they have a quarterback who I don't think is medically, should not medically be playing football with how many concussions Tua has had confirmed and unconfirmed. And it's not like if he goes down, Quinn Ewers and Zach Wilson are not going to keep you afloat for this season. I think Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle is not going to be a Dolphin by the end of the season. I think their defense, in terms of DBs and safeties, Mika Fitzpatrick being the only one to be a bright spot back there, is terrible. I love Ife Melifonwu, former Lion. I don't think he's an impact player in that sense. He was never a starter for the Lions unless somebody was hurt. I mean, you've got Jack Jones, you got Rasul Douglas as your starting corners. These are names of nobodies or names of the past, respectfully. I don't trust this team, to be honest, on either side of the ball to win games.
No. With that, I'll just go into where I have the Dolphins. I have them at that 3, mainly for your same reasons. McDaniel's coaching for his job. Tua is still very questionable at the quarterback position. Devon Achane is coming off of a rocky season with some injuries that affected his play last season. And everyone in fantasy right now is like, oh, Achane is going to, bounce back. He's going to have a great season, yada, yada, yada. I don't think that Achane is going to be able to do that as well as some other players you could say for. So I have them at the 3, mainly just because I don't think the Jets are in any better of a position. And so that's why I have the Dolphins going at my 3.
On the flip side, I have the Jets at my 3. I think Justin Fields does not look good in preseason. As someone who, you watched him a lot when he played for Pittsburgh last year, he didn't look terrible in that system. I think Aaron Glenn is going to be tough to get used to as a head coach. I don't know how he's going to be, honestly, coming from Detroit as a defensive coordinator. I think the Jets defense is a little underrated in certain aspects. I don't think they're the worst out there. I think their offense is pretty solid. You got guys like Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson who are going to make plays when they need to be made. It's just one matter of, can Justin Fields collect himself in the pocket consistently enough? And can that offensive line protect him? This is another situation like when we were talking about or when I was talking about the Niners and the Cardinals. I think this could be like a 1-game difference at the end of the year, but I don't think either of these teams are going to be good or mediocre by any necessary.
I think they're going to be some of the lower teams that we see within the AFC, but I think it's going to be around that slot of they're the 12th or the 11th team within the AFC out of 16. So not terrible, but again, they're definitely looking towards next season on what they can do.
I think the Dolphins will be a top 7 pick in the draft. I think they're going to be
I,
terrible this year.
I can see that argument, and I think that's a pretty, and especially if they then go that route, I think it's safe to say McDaniel is out of a
For
job,
sure.
and that seventh pick is going to be going to a new
I think
system.
they could pick top 10 in the bottom, and as long as they get one of those, McDaniel's out. I think as long as they don't go like 2 games under 500, they're not keeping him. I think the
Hmm.
system, the team, and literally the city of Miami is just sick of him now. I think the Hard Knocks
Yeah,
jokes were good when they came out, but that died a long time ago.
yeah. For me, at number two, I have one of the best upcoming teams that we are going to see this season, and honestly, my team for a dark horse run is going to be the New England Patriots. We all saw the dynasty, and we all were happy that it eventually died, but now we're kind of seeing it's a brand new system. No one from those teams are still on the Patriots anymore after this past season, so it's a fresh slate. And so I see it as you got Mike Vrabel going in there,
Dog.
who's already had an amazing quotes going into preseason in general. Season even hasn't even started, and he's one of my favorite coaches for the season already. You have Drake May that's coming into a sophomore season, and like you said with Bo Nix in the last episode about the West, is that this rookie class that just finished up that's going to be going into a sophomore season, a lot of people just lean on the sophomore slump because it's a good saying, and that people think that that's what's going to happen the most. It's what happened to C.J. Stroud. It's what happened to a lot of guys from the past season. But I don't think that's the case for this draft class with their quarterbacks. I think Bo Nix is going to still do incredible, and I think the same for Drake May. I think he's really going to stand out with, I wouldn't say the lack of weapons, but the lack of, star spangled weapons. There's nothing that's really popping out a whole lot. I think he's going to be able to make what he has of it, and that's going to put them at the two.
Yeah, I mean, you have their running back room's a little questionable. They're going to be able to get the job done. I have a feeling they're going to go hunting for a guy in next year's draft. Stephon Diggs obviously is going to be their breakout wide receiver. They go and get Matt Collins from free agency. Demario Douglas, shout out Liberty Flames, is going to be their third guy probably, who looked pretty good towards the end of last season. They still have Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, who are decent enough tight ends for a young guy. They can be consistent for him. I think Drake May is going to have as much, if not better, than a sophomore year than Bo Nix, just because I think his weapons are a little bit better than the Broncos. I think there's still questions at the Denver tight end position. Um, they got the Tommy DeVito effect now. They just picked him up off of waiver wires. And I think their defense is actually pretty underrated, all things considered. They weren't bad last year. They got some great
No,
acquisitions. And I think Will
by no
Campbell
means.
is going to be one of the best draft picks in a long time for an offensive lineman. I mean, the interviews this guy does, he is everything you want. And then, yeah, you said it. Vrabel is everyone's out from the Patriots dynasty. Vrabel's the only one back as a coach. And I mean, this guy's
Yeah.
coming out of scrums bloodied up. He's yelling at reporters for finding out scoops on players and their injuries and leaking it. This guy is going to live and die for this franchise. And I hope that he is inspiring everybody to do the same thing, because that New England team is probably going to make the wild card.
I see them sneaking in at like a seven
Yep.
position, being at that area of like 9-8, 10-7. It comes down to that final week, and they might get lucky. I don't remember who their last game of the season is, but I would assume if it's against the Bills or something, that the Bills
Josh
are
Allen might not be
already in the
playing.
playoffs.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. That they're gonna sit him, and that they're gonna get. I wouldn't say lucky, but they'll have the opportunity.
so their
Who
last
do they play?
4 games of the season are Bills, then Ravens. So that's going to be 2 tough games because both of those guys will still have all their starters in. But their last
Right.
2 games of the season are Jets, Dolphins.
Yeah, exactly. And that could be a point where maybe the Jets and Dolphins are fighting for playoffs, but I still think that then that begs the question of, well, who is genuinely the better team? And I think that's the
Yeah,
Patriots. So
especially because
I could see
they're going to be
I'll go in all
they're going to
way.
be visiting the Jets in that game. But I mean, they know how to play in the
Hmm.
cold. That's nothing. But the Dolphins are going to New England for that season closer, and we all know how Tua is in the later months. He struggles immensely.
Yeah. So Pat's at 2 for me. Pat's at 2 for
Yep.
you. So we both know number 1 is the Buffalo Bills. And for me, I'm really taking this mainly because of the celebration of marriage between Josh Allen and Haley Steinfeld. I mean, you and I are both movie
Yep.
guys. For those who don't know already, we're big on movies, so we also really love seeing Haley Steinfeld in a lot of different stuff. But I think that's going to be something that's really going to propel Josh Allen to be a different kind of guy after that MVP season, after his marriage, after everything that seems to be going great for this guy. I think it's going to really continue, but it's also going to continue in the fact of James Cook just signed a massive extension.
Yes.
It's going to keep him with the team for another 4 to 5 years. And it's really going to help this team find their identity. They're not going to be having to struggle with, drama with Stephon Diggs. They're not going to be having to struggle with, is Josh Allen, is he, won't he, that kind of question.
Yep.
They are at a fact where they know they are good and that the offense doesn't need to worry. It's mainly the defense. But the defense has a lot of young bodies that are coming in to those corner positions, to the safety positions, and it's going to help them a lot. I see the Bills being the first overall team within the AFC, getting that first bye week. And honestly, every year people say it. Every year it's mainly me that says it, that I see the Bills as a Super Bowl team. And I think they have been for a while, but I do think that this is potentially the year that they can do it, especially with the Chiefs on more of a downcline.
I mean, because that's always been their downfall. In the regular season, it is what it is. You get into the playoffs, then nothing else matters. I think this is easily a team where they can smoke the Chiefs by maybe 17 points. I think Keon Coleman's due for a breakout year. James Cook, I mean, we talked about Stephon Diggs' drama. James Cook had all that little bit of drama when he wanted a new contract at the beginning of the offseason. They must have taken care of it behind the scenes because he did sign that contract. And everything is all good. Their defense is better. Joey Bosa's there now, which I completely forgot about.
Yeah.
Ed Oliver's still great. They get screwed every year with some injuries at the DB position, but they always seem to manage to get far. If they can stay healthy, this is a team that will go all the way.
Completely agree.
That finishes up the AFC East. So we basically agree on everything except for where the Dolphins and the Jets are going to fall, but we still know that they're going to be the two bottom teams of the season. Let's move on to the NFC East. We have who do you think is going to finish last? Because I think we both know who it's going to be.
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that we all know. It's got to be the Eagles there at that one spot. I mean,
at the bottom.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were talking about the top.
No.
My headset went out for a bit, and I got a little confused. But yeah, I personally I see it being the Giants, but there is a argument to make about the Cowboys. I saw some the other day that said that the defense for the Giants is arguably one of the best on paper. Now, again, that's on paper.
Yes.
You have Abdul Carter, you have a lot of different other guys that are going into the spot. You got Dexter Lawrence, you got Brian Burns still on there, granted, still on the older side, but still able to do a lot of different things. And so for the Giants, it's more the fact of they are still good, but it's more of the fact, where's their offense going to take them? What are we doing with the quarterback situation? Everyone loves Jameis Winston just because of who he is as a guy.
Yes.
Russell Wilson is, on his way out eventually, and whatever he could scramble up is what he'll take. And then you have the unproven Jackson Dart of Ole Miss is kind of a weird system that worked for him but didn't work throughout the entire, NCAA. And so what is this really going to do for this team? So I have them at last right now, but if someone were to tell me, hey, they're going to be like the third or second team within this division, I wouldn't argue it a whole lot.
Well, we do hear that a lot from a unnamed coworker.
We do.
But, he thinks Giants are going to be a 15-win team this year. I agree with you. Russ is probably not getting another contract in the NFL, period. Jameis is just a locker room guy at this point. He was fun in Tampa Bay to watch, but now he's just there for the culture. Jackson Dart's going to play by week 14, I would assume. If it just depends. I mean, Russ can start the season 4-2, or he can start the season 0-5. Their schedule is immensely difficult at the beginning. Commanders, Cowboys, Chiefs, Chargers, Saints. So that's 4 games before they actually get to a winnable team. Then it's Eagles, Broncos, Eagles, and then Niners is the next one. I could maybe see them sneaking one out. So that's like 2-7 right off the bat. Uh, I expect multiple quarterback changes is going to screw the team up. Again, on paper, the defense is good, but the problem is they're all linebacker edge rushers. It's Sexy Dexy in the interior. You have Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, and Kayvon Thibodeau. Kayvon Thibodeau has not been what he was drafted to be since he was drafted. Yeah, he's had some injury stuff that he's dealt with, but I mean, is Abdul Carter gonna be that guy that can actually help you win games? I don't think so, because a see ball, get ball individual is not gonna score you points necessarily. Their offense is still too questionable, so I think they're an easy dead last team. I will say though, as we talked about, I think the next team is easily the Cowboys.
I would agree. It's easily the Cowboys there. It's so weird what's going
How long
on
until Micah plays, do you
in
think?
I don't know if he plays at all, honestly. Like I could see Micah playing week one. I could see the contract getting done and then them doing it. But at this point, I feel like it's really come down to, even if he does play, there is fractured relationships
Yes.
in that area, especially with Jerry Jones. So there's that aspect. But then also there's the fact of we had the reports of him laying on a medical bench. He has no care. Okay. And that's okay to have. That's okay. But then it comes down to the fact of, even if you do re-sign him, he's still not going to have a great attitude for the remainder of the
Nope.
season. He's going to just be looking towards next season because he's not prepared for this one. So I still don't think that it's going to help them in that aspect. Dak is coming off of, some ifs and ands at this point. CeeDee Lamb is, everyone's waiting for him to have that
He
breakout
was
of a
very
season.
banged
He's
up
still
last
really,
year.
really good. Yeah, exactly. He's still really, really good, but he is just, kind of unproven from
Right.
this past year. And so this team raises a lot of questions. The in-house hire for coach raises some questions for me. I think it's more of at the point of just, when do we stop and smell the roses and smell that the roses are not, they're not
They're not
fresh.
alive.
They're dying. Yeah.
No, I completely agree with you.
When do we
I
do
don't,
something about it?
I don't, I don't know. I can't say I love or hate the coaching decision. Obviously, we don't know enough about him because he hasn't coached before.
Yeah.
So that's just gonna, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Aside from Eagles week one at Banner Night, I mean, they go Jets or not Jets, Giants, Bears, Packers, Jets, Panthers. So like all of those are games where they can win without Micah, except for the Packers, I would say. I think they can easily beat all of those games, and then it'll be the fan base turning on Micah if he hasn't played up to that point, saying, "Oh, we don't
Right.
need him." Well, guess what? Then you have Commanders and Broncos back to back. You get a little bit of ease, but then you have to go Eagles, Chiefs, Lions at one point. Like those are games you will need him for because they have great offensive lines, and you're gonna need help stopping offenses in general. So it gets to the point of, for starters, do you think he's going to end up in Green Bay? A lot of chatter
I
about
could
that.
see it. I could see it. I think the one team that I really do think that he could end up in is the Eagles. Like,
I don't. They don't
and
have the money for
it's
him. He's going to want
it's
45
weird to say,
minimum.
but I think that they could find the ways around it. They could find their way around the money, and they could do it. Um,
But
it's a weird take, it is, but I could also see him potentially going down to Tampa and being on the Buccaneers because they have a good amount of money that they can spend, and their defense is not terrible. But if they were to add Parsons into that, they could honestly be a Super Bowl contending
I mean,
team. So
especially
I could
with
see the
that,
Bucks
they
also
got
making
that
a push.
amazing new defensive tackle that they just are going to pair up with Vita Vea. It's like 800 pounds of
Yeah,
guy in the middle
yeah,
of the line. I think the Buccaneers are a great pick. Nobody talks about them, but if they're willing to dish out the picks, they could 1,000% acquire him. I don't think Micah would have anything against that. Uh, there's no
no,
way he goes to the Eagles. Jerry just won't trade him in division in general.
right.
If this was a free agency move, then I would probably suggest that. But I know Carolina was up on the table at one point. I don't think that'll happen because I don't know if they're willing to shell out all of that while they're trying to build up their team, especially
Yeah,
because they are so Bryce Young development focused, despite Adam Thielen being traded away. Um, I think he plays for them. I think looking at the schedule, because I hadn't actually looked at the beginning of their schedule, he might not play until like week 7. but I think he will play
Yeah.
because I think Jerry will eventually feel the pressure for like the first time, and I think he's smart enough to not trade him away. Um, I don't know. It's an interesting situation.
I could see it coming down to a 1 or 2 year extension and then they trade. But I think in the end it's really going to come down to we're going to get a trade by week 4, week 5. It's going to be on the NFC side. I don't think that any AFC team is really going to. I wouldn't say afford, but the NFC has a lot of teams that are maybe 1 or 2 pieces away from Super Bowl, and that's where Mike is going to be want to be looking at, and so I think he's going to go NFC the most.
Yeah. I mean, other than that, their offense, like, I don't know where the Dak hype comes from every year. Dak is a mediocre quarterback, and he proves it every single year. When it comes to the
Mm-hmm.
big moments, CeeDee Lamb is great. I wish he had gone to a different team instead of getting a new contract with the Cowboys. Honestly, Trayvon
Yeah.
Diggs is still good. Their defense is solid enough, but like I said about the Giants, like, is Abdul Carter really going to win you games and be that guy? Micah Parsons is that guy for the Cowboys. He is the reason they win a lot of their games because he is
Yep.
just a monster. But I mean, we'll see what happens. Uh, at the number two, I mean, you already spoiled who your number one is, and I agree with you. The number two is definitely going to be the Washington Commanders. This is yeah, they're coming off of a really hot and unexpected season. Is Jaden Daniels going to technically have a sophomore slump? I will say yes, because I don't think there's any way he can perform as well as he did in a technically historic rookie year. They get Terry McLaurin done. Debo Samuel is a decent enough wide receiver to help develop your quarterback. Um, Running back questions. I don't know why they traded Brian Robinson, especially for the bag of chips that they got for him. But I
Yeah.
think Bill is going to be great. I picked him up the second Brian Robinson got traded in fantasy, and I also have Austin Eckler. So we'll see what happens with their defense is also pretty good. And I think everything is in place for them to make this random like Cinderella run um, to another NFC championship game, but we'll just have to see what happens.
I would agree with you with the Daniels take on a slump kind of in his future, mainly because of how good, like you said, how good his rookie year was. But I see it being more as a fact of Daniels is going to be told, you can't be doing, all that running. You
Yes.
can't be doing all of the different kinds of fun little moves that you're doing out there because eventually that's going to cost you. And I think Dan Quinn knows
Yeah.
that, and as an experienced guy with Dak and Matt Ryan and what he's had in his past.
That's probably
And
what led to
so
him going and getting guys like Laramie Tunzel. Like they completely revitalized their offensive line. It's going to keep Jaden in the
exactly.
pocket more. It's going to teach him to read
Hmm.
defenses better by not being able to leave the pocket so quickly. And yeah, as long as he stays healthy, I mean, I genuinely could see them going all the way. The only problem is I don't think they're going to get over this Philadelphia hump anytime soon. You're going to need somebody to beat Philadelphia in the playoffs for you, and you can beat that person. Like
Yeah,
last year,
I
if
would
the
agree.
Rams had beat them in that snow game, which boy, they were close to doing it, I think
They
the
were very
Commanders
close.
easily could have beat the Rams, easily could have
Hmm.
beat well, yeah, easily could have beat the Rams because that would have been the championship game between the two.
The championship.
And they would have
Hmm.
been in a Super Bowl with a rookie quarterback, which is basically unheard of.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, the Commanders are. I wouldn't say they're all an if team, but I think it's more of the fact of, you know, is taking a year back and not getting to the playoffs right now, is that going to hurt them a lot? Or is that just going to be one of those things that it's how it is and we look towards the next season? I think right now they can't get their hopes up high. You had one really, really good season. You got to keep it level. If you try and strive for
Yeah.
more, it might bite you in the butt in the end. And
I
so
think their fan base will
I
be
still
disappointed
really
if
good.
they
But
I mean, they're going to be a wild card team. That's no questions asked.
mhm,
Their fan base is going to be disappointed if their first round exits, but they also shouldn't be just
right.
because of like the way this team is and the way that like the ownership is spending money the right way, getting the right pieces. Like maybe not next year, but
Hmm.
legitimately maybe next year. Like go get another good draft. Maybe go find one more defensive guy on the uh, free agency when that comes around, or maybe make a trade before the deadline, maybe get Marshawn Lattimore some help out there,
Yep.
find a safety maybe to help you over the top. And like this is a team that'll easily go all the way.
So yeah, with that number one, I already spoiled it a little bit, but it's the Philadelphia
Yeah,
Eagles without a doubt. Um, and people will argue, oh well, Saquon Barkley isn't going to have as great as a season as
well,
he
of
did
course
last
not.
year. Well, I could argue that maybe he will. It's a very, very slight
Right.
maybe because having that is historic with 2,000 plus yards in general. It's just historic. But I think he's still going to be really, really good. And I think that Jalen Hurts is going to be able to take that role of sheriff where I don't have to do everything. I can give it to A.J. Brown. I can give it to Smith. I can give it to Barkley. I can give it to Goddard and I can trust them to get it done and be able to make those plays. But I also think that the defense is probably going to be more exceptional than the offense will be, mainly because of Blankenship, DeJean, those guys that continue to make surprising plays when you wouldn't even think it would happen. They do it somehow, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
they're going to be the difference in this team.
Right. They lost some guys, they re-signed some guys, but they're still arguably the best defense in the league. They are elite in every meaning of the word. I think the defense is always going to be the reason they win games. They could win games and only score 14 points, and nobody would be surprised. I think the
Mm-hmm.
problem is Jalen Hurts is not always consistent in the way you want him to be, and it's frustrating because you have an elite offense, which forces Saquon Barkley to become the workhorse. And if you get into a run heavy system, you will eventually be able to stop it no matter how good he is. Lane Johnson is not getting any younger. I'm genuinely surprised he's still playing. I thought last year would have been his last year. Um, he's probably going to have a bad year compared to last year, and I don't mean worse, I mean bad. And I just don't see Jalen Hurts as, like I said earlier with their defense, elite. I don't see Jalen Hurts as the guy who's ever really in MVP, whatchamacallit, conversations. Yeah, has he won Super Bowls? But at the same time, there is something to be said about putting a guy like him into an absolute powerhouse of an offense.
Right. I mean, the Eagles at this point are just arguably that number one slot. I think that the East is going to be holding the two number ones for the NFC and the AFC. The Bills are going to hold it for the AFC. The Eagles are going to hold it for the NFC for me.
That's our coverage of the East divisions. Be on the lookout for our breakdown of the South and the North. And if you missed it, go ahead and watch our breakdown of the AFC and NFC West.